Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This episode of Ham Nation is brought to you by Icom. For more information, visit icomamerica.com/hamnation. This is Ham Nation, episode number 363 for August 15th, 2018. Huntsville Hamfest preview. Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Wednesday night, and you're here in front of your computer watching the Twit Network, which means it's time for Ham Nation at 8 o'clock Central. I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW. We've got the standard cast of idiots. But if I'm here in the beginning, that means apparently that Bob is not, and that is the case. Bob is out doing Bob stuff and probably getting ready for the Huntsville, Alabama Hamfest coming up this weekend, and that's what we're going to talk about. And, of course, say hello to everybody listening on the big blowtorch WTWW 5085 and 15.810 tonight out of Lebanon, Tennessee, the big, massive, throbbing shortwave. If you've got anything ham radio related that you'd like to email Ted over there, you can do that. Email at WTWW.us. Great radio station. They've got some of the best top 40 jocks on there, too, that they've kind of brought out of retirement to do evening shows with that good old rock and roll. So check out WTWW at night. But, of course, you're hearing us on WTWW right now. We thank Ted for simulcasting Ham Nation. Also, we'll have some Young Ham of the Year stuff live from the Huntsville Hamfest coming up this weekend, as Ted will be there broadcasting all day Saturday and also into the night on Saturday as we kind of convene over at the hotel and right next to the bar. So there's no telling what you'll hear on WTWW Saturday night. We've got George up in Jackson, Mississippi, just slightly to my north. How are you doing tonight, George?
Well, hello, Don. It's good to be back another week. You know, we've got Huntsville coming up this weekend, and I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody there. And the broadcast on WTWW, I like to go down to the hotel lobby on Saturday nights and just sit in with the whole crew there. There's always a great group of folks just sitting around, chatting, having a good time there. That's fun. And you may notice I've got a radio here right below me. I'll tell you a little bit later in the show how you could win that.
Also, don't forget, we've got Amanda coming up tonight with the chat room. We've got some video stuff from Dan N9LVS as well. But right now, Gordon West is here over on the West Coast, and he has got a special guest. We've got Mark Brown, who is the general chairman of the Huntsville Hamfest, the Hamfest chairman there. So, Gordon, Mark, why don't you guys tell us what's going on this weekend at the Huntsville Hamfest?
All right. Well, thanks, John. And Mark, welcome aboard again, N4 Bravo Charlie Delta. And Mark, we're going to give you some short shots to go along with your dissertation. Bob is right now on his way, headed down to Huntsville. And Mark, let's go ahead and take a look at what's up the street before we take a look at what's inside at the Huntsville Hamfest. So, Mark, how about telling us all about the great museum, the Space Museum up the street? Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, hi, Gordo, and everybody, and Don and George. This is a mock-up of a full-size Saturn V launch vehicle, part of the Apollo space program. This one's not real, but it is 363 feet tall. The building behind it has this. This is one of three unlaunched Saturn Vs. They are the property of the Smithsonian Museum. Huntsville has one in a special purpose-built building. The other one's in Washington, D.C. at the Smithsonian. I think the third one is in Houston. But we've got one right here in Huntsville.
Wow. Now, before we leave the Space Museum, Mark, that's nice and close, so folks staying at the hotel can just jump the shuttle and head for about 15 minutes to the museum?
Yeah, if you're flying in or if you're driving in from the west, you can't miss that rocket. It's visible for miles, and at night it's floodlit.
Well, I encourage all of you that are going to Huntsville this weekend, go a day early. Leave tonight. Leave tomorrow. Tailgate
Right.
with Don and George and Bob and all the team there. Unfortunately, I'm doing the microwave contest maritime this weekend, so I'm tied up out here. But let's take a look inside and see how the Huntsville Hamfest comes together. Now, Mark, I understand that beside all of the regular exhibitors, there's great emphasis on the swap meet inside, correct?
Absolutely. The whole indoors, I want to mention first, the whole indoor space, about 80,000 square feet, and that doesn't include forums or the test exam area. That's 80,000 square feet of air-conditioned space. The area there to the right, of course, is the commercial dealers. That's the flea market area before move-in, of course. We've got all the tables numbered, and 384 of them. They're all sold out.
Wow, 100% sellout. That's terrific. Now, many Hamfests will require the exhibitors, as well as those that are in the swap meet area, to drive a long way to get to their load-in ramp. But let's take a look, and you'll see that they don't have to drive very far, huh?
We've got a U-shaped pathway that's big enough for trucks and trailers. And it's a choreographed effort by our move-in guys that have been doing this a number of years. But we can get folks as close as you'll see in a minute, literally right at their doorstep to move in. And what you see there, those guys are the Huntsville Amateur Radio Club core of volunteers. We have about 100 essential volunteers that are just really wonderful in helping us make this the world's friendliest Hamfest.
It really is.
There's an example.
For those that are coming for the commercial exhibits, what have we got here? You mean you can drive that big rig inside?
Yes. We have enough space in the aisleways. Now, after move-in, we'll fill in these aisleways with chairs and tables for the concession area, the stage, and things like that. But during move-in and move-out, we want to be able to get the trucks as close as we can to help the dealers and flea market folks unload.
That'll sure make Icom America happy, because when they move in, Ray and his team, they move in a lot of great demo stuff, huh?
That black carpet is Icom's booth, and what you see there are their traveling containers. So I don't know how those got dropped off, but they're there and just ready to basically build the tables and put the radios on and power them up, and they've got a display.
Oh, that is terrific. Well, I wish I was going to be there, because 2 years ago I had the pleasure of presenting an instructor seminar. And how about telling the folks how convenient the seminar rooms are to both the convention site as well as the hotel that's actually all joined together?
Right. What we were talking about before the broadcast, the Embassy Suites is connected by a second-story walkway, and that's where a lot of us will be staying during the Hamfest. But there's a lot of other hotels nearby. We have 3 forum rooms at the Embassy Suites, and then 2 more over there closer to the dealer and flea market area. But this is, I think this is over at the Embassy Suites. And Gordo, I had to look at this picture pretty close to recognize it's your call sign, but you have to tell me what's all over the table.
Well, I always tell ham radio instructors, if you're teaching a class, don't just talk about a capacitor, show it in action. So that's all of our demo gear that I lug around the country, and especially here for Huntsville, it was a treat. Well, now it looks like everybody's almost ready. What time do the doors open?
We open the doors for the public admission at 9 o'clock on Saturday and Sunday. And when we open those doors, it's literally a flood. There's no second doorway. It's 3 double doors, so 6 doorways. We've got ladies out front selling admission tickets. It's literally a flood for the first couple of hours. And I can't wait. I'm really excited.
Well, so is a lot of folks headed for Huntsville, because it's so professionally done. We really admire all the hard work that you put into it. And it looks like they're beginning to stream in now. About how many folks did we have last year or year before, Mark?
It's a good question. I don't have those numbers in front of me because I just picked up the general chairmanship this year. Last year, I was a representative for the Hamfest committee. But I studied this picture a little bit, Gordo, and that's me walking there to the left. It looks like it's Sunday, probably Sunday afternoon, because some of those flea market tables behind me are empty. Also, I have a relaxed look on my face, and that was after the DX banquet, which we hosted the night before. So
oh yes, and the big Saturday night get together at the hotel, that's one always to remember. And there's the LED man, and looks like they're set up, and a lot of great live stuff at the show.
Roger Dean with Wired Communications is a regular at the Huntsville Hamfest, and I've run into him at Dayton, Orlando, Dallas. He gets around. He's a very big fan of the Huntsville Hamfest, and we're looking forward to hosting him again.
Well, that husband and wife team, Raj, they just do a great job. And there's plenty of excitement and a lot of live gear. And, of course, for the exhibitors, we're always treated to a secret room. Right, Mark?
Right. For the commercial guys and our volunteers, we cater honey baked ham in ham, turkey, and vegetable sandwiches, and some soft drinks. But that goes a long way, and because these vendors are really, really busy, and a couple of times we'll actually take them a meal because the mom and pop operations, they can't break Saturday afternoon to go get something to eat, and so we help them out there.
Well, that is terrific. And the only other show, the real big one, was the Orlando Hamcation that does the same thing. And that is the way to get more exhibitors coming back and back and back. Now, you do have some displays outside, right?
Just the one that I'm aware of. In my last couple of years, I've had so much excitement inside that I haven't been out very much. But that's Emmett Owensy from Radio Waves, drives MCOM 1 in, and he'll probably be putting up his 40-meter multi-band spider beam. And he's asked for and gotten permission to park that in about the same spot as you see there in the picture.
Oh, that's terrific. Well, I know Emmett always does a great job of getting all of those great beam antennas up and playing. And wow, for kids, plenty of kits, huh?
Yeah, I'm not certain who this might be, so don't misquote me. I think it's Electro Marvin, based on the layout from this year and past years. A lot of these flea market folks, they find a place that they like in the flea market layout, and they want it year after year. So let's say this is Electro Marvin, but you're right. Your next shot, go ahead.
I believe that's Nightfire, guys. That's the Nightfire people. Nightfire.
That's it. Nightfire.
Nightfire. Thanks
to the chat room.
Thank you for the correction.
Yeah. Thanks to the chat room for that.
Great. But yeah,
that
it's
is
really
great.
Cool solder kits.
And I saw Kim and Roger over there before they opened up their big LED unlimited electronics, looking at all these kits. And looking at all these kits is, well, we'll get to that shot shortly. But let's see, Gigaparts, another big exhibitor there at the show, huh?
Right. That's an inside view of the Gigaparts sales area within the commercial dealer area. We have other. There's a correction. Nightfire Electronics. We have HRO, R&L, Gigaparts, Ham World, and probably a few other distributors of the various products, but a lot of OEMs too.
Wow, that is terrific. Well, that's what really draws a lot of visitors. And, of course, representing Kenwood as a volunteer, Don Arnold, W6 GPS. Right. He looks pretty happy, but let's take a close look and see what he's tuned into, Mark. And, yep, there is. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, there's a D-Star contact on 440 megahertz with Hong Kong. That's pretty cool. Right there.
Oh, that is just great. So you're going to see not just static gear, but a lot of live gear and live people like Donnie and Roger and Kimmers and Ray and all the team. But of course, the big live show and awards is coming from Don. Let me quickly ask Don. Don, how about talking about the Young Ham of the Year award coming up?
Yeah, we can't wait. This is our 25th year at Huntsville. We got started in 1993 at Huntsville, so this is the 25th year, and we love Huntsville. I've been going to Huntsville 24 of those 25 years. The only time I didn't go was actually this will be my 23rd. I got licensed in 95, so I've been going since 95. I missed 2014 because we did not have a Young Ham of the Year winner at that particular year, the only time. But really looking forward to bringing Bryant Rascal, KG5HVO, on stage with me at 2 o'clock local time there on stage, the main stage, on the floor of the Huntsville Hamfest to present him the Young Ham of the Year award. And we're also going to be sharing stage time with the Alabama Outstanding Young Ham. So we're looking forward to that as well. And it's the best Hamfest. And I saw in the chat room somebody estimated 12 to 13,000 attendance at the Huntsville Hamfest. So this is one of the top 5 Hamfests in the country and by far the friendliest I've ever been to. So I look forward to this. This is my favorite weekend every year, not just because of Young Ham, although that's a big part of it, but because of the venue as well and the Hamfest in Huntsville, Alabama. It's a great city and a great Hamfest and great people.
Well, thank you, Don. And Mark, I know you're getting excited. How about a wrap-up, Mark, as to what to see and when to get there? Get a lot of sleep, of course, the night before. And any more surprises that we're going to have at Huntsville? Always pleasant surprises. Mark?
Always good. Yeah, always good surprises. I'll mention that Carol Perry, Radio Club of America, this is going to be her first visit to Huntsville. She's doing a 2-hour forum on Saturday, and she's done, 30-plus years of youth in ham radio. And she's done these forums at least in Dayton, Orlando, Pacificon, and now she'll be doing this in Huntsville. And we're very excited to host Carol, and lots of other new stuff. The expanded youth lounge. Dr. Monty Bateman has really done a great job with the youth lounge here, with soldering, hands-on demonstrations with robotics, Arduino, etc. And this year we've pretty much doubled the size of the youth lounge. And there'll be a schedule when you check in. So lots of stuff to do for kids. We want to get more youth in ham radio. We've got the exams that start at 10 o'clock sharp on both Saturday and Sunday morning. It's going to be a fun and busy weekend. And like Don said, you don't want to miss it. It's going to be a blast.
Well, thank you so much, Mark. Mark Brown in for Bravo Charlie Delta, the Huntsville Hamfest chairman. We wish you and all of your volunteers and all those of you that have the opportunity of going to Huntsville to have a great time. I'll be thinking about you as I'm mountaintopping or maritime mobile with 10 gigahertz dish antennas, making X-band contacts this weekend, hoping that I'll be making it all the way back there. Maybe soon. So one of the big exhibitors at Huntsville, of course, is Icom America. And here's some of the Icom gear that you're probably going to be seeing. And Mark, thank you again for joining us one more time here on Ham Nation. Icom America.
Gordo, thank you for the invitation. We'll see you later.
73.
Heard it, worked it, logged it. It's time to get the transceiver that's best suited for your lifestyle. Icom offers a variety of high-performance and innovative products. See how you can make the most out of contest season with these transceivers. The competitive edge you've been looking for, raise the bar and hear what others cannot with this flagship HF 50 MHz transceiver, the IC7851. Reciprocal mixing dynamic range, crystal clear local oscillator design, spectrum scope, dual receivers, and digital voice recorder. The IC7610 is the SDR every ham wants and just in time for contesting season. This high-performance SDR has the ability to pick out the faintest signals even in the presence of stronger adjacent signals. The new Icom IC7610 is a direct sampling software-defined radio that will change the world's definition of a SDR transceiver. RF direct sampling, 110 RMDR, independent dual receiver, dual digicell, IC7300 is changing the way entry-level HF is designed. This high-performance innovative HF transceiver with a compact design will far exceed your expectations. RF direct sampling, 15 discrete bandpass filters, large 4.3-inch color touchscreen, real-time spectrum scope, and SD memory card slot. Visit icomamerica.com/amateur for more information on all the great Icom radios.
And you can tune in and enter to win after each episode of Ham Nation. Go to icomamerica.com/hamnation. Register to win some great swag prizes like t-shirts and hats while you're there. Learn how you can win in the monthly grand prize drawing for a new radio. And for August, that new radio is going to be the Icom ID51A Plus 2 VHF UHF dual band dual watch D-Star portable. It's got built-in GPS, extended D-Star coverage with terminal mode and access point mode, DV fast data mode, DV and FM repeater search function. There's a free downloadable RSMS1A Android app available, and a lot more. So go to icomamerica.com/hamnation after this in each episode of Ham Nation and register to win. Sign up, good luck, and don't forget to follow Icom America Inc. on Facebook and Twitter. And if you hang around a few minutes, I'll tell you how you could possibly win this IC7300 here as well. But right now, we've got to go back to the transmitter site.
Last week on Smokin' and Soldering, we were looking at a transmitter, and I promised we would look at it more this week. I had turned off the plates to let it cool down. Now I'm turning off the filaments. It made a big difference in the sound level, although you won't hear that in this voiceover to video. The transmitter's completely off now, but we don't trust that on its own, so we'll go over here to the main disconnect for that transmitter and make sure that the power is off completely. Now there's no power reaching the transmitter at all, but we don't really trust that either, so we're going to reach down here and grab our Jesus stick, and we'll use this to short around at different places in the transmitter, mainly around the plate and the cavity, to make sure that there's no capacitors remaining charged or any way that there's any voltage at all left in the transmitter. The tube is located behind this cavity door here. We're going to open that up and take a look inside. The first thing we'll look at here are the interlock switches. You'll notice up there on that high voltage wire coming into the cavity, there's some black spots on there. That's not actually arcs. That's where that rubber grommet has deteriorated and left some on the insulation. Two poles here you can see stood off on insulators there, and then a shorting bar. What this does is when the door is closed, that is pressed in. When the door is open, that's released and it shorts out the high voltage to ground. The micro switch there also controls the transmitter logic to tell it that the high voltage needs to be off. Even though we've got all those safety features, we still want to take the grounding stick and touch it to short out anything that might remain on the plate. This is a plate blocker right here. You can see that Kapton in the middle. This whole assembly is actually a capacitor, and that's what couples the RF. Down here at the bottom, there's an assembly that helps force the air up through the tube. The tube socket is located down inside there, and you can see all of that suspended out there on insulated material. Up above the tube, there's a tuning plane. I call it a shelf. This is adjustable and goes up and down depending on frequency, and you use that to actually tune that cavity to resonance. Unlike our ham amplifiers, it is kind of critical that the cavity be resonant. You can see some arc marks here on the plate blocker. This was probably caused by lightning in the past. Those have been sanded down to take off the rough edges, and the blocker has been rotated so that it's not against any other matching arced surfaces. In the back, there are a couple of tuning paddles and loading paddles back here that are used to tune and load the amplifier. Those are actually capacitors. And if we look around the edge of the cavity here, we'll see there is finger stock. That's to help complete and make a good conductive path and make that cavity look like one solid piece there. That stuff will burn out, so you need to keep it clean and replace any burnt parts, and also sand wherever they burn to, or you just got that problem all over again. Now I've removed the tube and we see the socket there, and looking up we see the exhaust stack or the chimney where the exhaust air goes. There's a high voltage lead and the clip that clamps on top of the tube. I'm wearing some gloves here so that I don't get cleaning fluid in the cuts on my hands. There's those two tuning and loading pedals there, and you can see where the arcs were that it has arced in the past and how they've been sanded down there. You also see one over on the other side there. That is not new either. I believe that has been there a while as well. Now, as we look down the tube socket, you see the finger stock down in there. That is silver plated, and you see that black tarnish on there. That's not anything to be concerned about. It is actually conductive. I will clean around in here some before I put the new tube in. And down here at the bottom of the socket, you see these two little adjustments, these sliders here. That's how you adjust the neutralization on this amplifier. You want to do that to make sure that you don't have oscillations going on. Now here's our tubes. The one on the right, of course, is a new one. The one on the left is the one I just took out. That one's about 8 months old, and it should have lasted 18 months, so I'm not sure what's wrong there, but the rebuilder swapped it out for us, and they're going to take a look at it. You can see it's got a little bit of black on there. That's because of the heat that it has been operating under. They'll take that one and rebuild it, and it'll look just like the one on the right when they're finished with it. As a matter of fact, I could actually get that back one day. Now this is a view up under the bottom of the tube socket. You can see there's several components there. That's going to need to be cleaned. But what's amazing here is there's not really that much there, you know. It just works, and with a lot of power. That's the filament transformer right there, and you can see those big gauge leads that go up to the socket for that. And when you think about it, it's amazing how few parts there are in something like this. Now I've changed out the tube and I've got it warming back up, and you can see I've adjusted my filament voltage for the rated 6.3 volts. I'm going to operate it at that voltage for the first 200 hours, and then after that I'll back the filaments down just to where I see the power start to drop and raise it slightly above that, and then we'll operate it with that filament voltage, and the tube should give us better life. Now you don't do that with all tubes, but you do with these particular types. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed some tales from the transmitter.
And I didn't actually show the replacing of the tube in there and the tuning up afterwards. If you remember last week, I had that bandage around my arm here. That's because I got my arm skin up. No high voltage involved there now. But anyway, after that, I really didn't record anymore, just because I had a bandage on my arm and I just wanted to get through at that point. I shot that with the cell phone, so, you know, if there's a little jerky there, looked a little funny, that's fine. But I did want to show you a little bit of something, you know, that's inside those. You don't get to see them that often, so glad I could share that with you. You know, we were talking about the transmission line last week. We looked up there, and I mentioned that stuff is hollow. It's air dielectric. And I asked, why would you use hollow transmission line, air dielectric line? Why do we use it so much in broadcasting? That's what I wanted to know, because you do see it a lot, particularly on high power stations. Why would we want to use the air dielectric rather than, you know, something that was foam filled? Well, there's a very good reason for that. Not a lot of, well, a number of people to get it right, but a lot of people got this one wrong, or got close to it but didn't get it exactly right. The reason that we use air dielectric transmission lines so much in broadcasting is because there's less loss than there would be on something with a foam dielectric in it. That's the reason. You know, if you're going to pump 25 kW or so, 1,000 feet, you'd like as much of it to get there to the end as you can. And using air dielectric transmission line really helps out. Of course, using bigger line too. But all of that, the frequency starts getting more critical. One end of the band, maybe, a little lower loss in the transmission line than the other. But it's a lot more than you're going to see on your HF transmitter. That's why we go with such big line. And the person who knew the answer to that, well, it was Aaron Sides, KE5TGW. And he said lower loss than other dielectrics. And that's correct, Aaron. So Gary Drash, K9DJT, is going to be sending you a copy of his new book, Ham Radio is Alive and Well. Gary goes into details after being out of amateur radio for a number of years and tells us what he found when he came back into it. He'll be happy to know amateur radio is alive and well. For next week, I don't see Gordo around here, so I'm going to give away one of Gordo's books here. I believe you can take your choice of the general or the extra. Don't tell him. I believe he's got the general and extra there right now, ready to ship out. And I've got a question here out of the extra manual. It is, how does the bandwidth of an antenna vary as the gain is increased? A, it increases geometrically. B, it increases aromatically. C, it's essentially unaffected. Or D, it decreases. How does the beam width of an antenna vary as the gain is increased? If you know the answer to that, send it to me, hamnationcontest@gmail.com, and you can have one of Gordo's books, courtesy of Gordo. And thanks, Gordo, for those books. Now, I mentioned a moment ago that we're going to be giving away these prizes here that are surrounding me right now. I'll just tell you what I've got. It's a Icom IC 7300. We've seen this rig a number of times. A great radio for the price. It's got to be the top thing out there on the market right now in that price range. Very hard to beat. Software-defined radio. It's got everything in it that you'd want. Somebody's going to win that, but you got to have stuff to go with it. So we're also going to give them an MFJ power supply. This is the MFJ 4230 DMP, 12 volt, 30 amp supply. This one is actually mine right here, but we'll be giving them one in the box. You're going to need an antenna to go with that too. So I've got an MFJ big ear right here. It covers from 40 meters on up through 6 meters. Got a tappable coil right here so you can select the different bands. It's going to have the pipe mount here to hold it, as well as the ground counterpoise. And you can't see it because, my ceiling is not tall enough to let it all the way up. This is a 17-foot telescopic pole right here. That's just like the little telescopic antenna on the old handy talkies or your portable radio, except this one goes to 17 feet. So it makes a great portable antenna setup. Of course, you're going to have to hook that up. So we've got 50 feet of MFJ US-made coax to go with it here. It comes with a microphone, but we've got some Heil microphones as well. Bob is not here, I know, this week, so I'm going to tell you about these. It is the Heil ICM microphone, especially designed for earlier Icom rigs. Got a push-to-talk button built right on it. Comes with the Icom microphone connector on the end. Will plug right into this rig and sound great. And we've also got the new Heil BM17 emergency communicator headset. They come in single and dual ear versions. This is a dual ear version. And it has a choice of either an electret or a dynamic microphone. And I believe this one is the electret here. I haven't hooked these up yet to see what they sound like. I'm going to do that soon. It's a great looking, small, lightweight pair of headsets designed especially for emergency communicators. So looking forward to learning more about these, and we're going to hook them up, get them on the air, and see what they sound like. And now, you may not be a general or an extra, So I'm gonna double up here. Just don't tell Gordo. I'm gonna give away another one of his books here. It'll be either the general or the extra class here. The winner will get the choice of that. If you want to win this package, we'll be celebrating the 13th anniversary of Amateur Logic coming up in October. Just go to amateurlogic.tv/contest, amateurlogic.tv/contest, and learn how you can win this great Icom radio and the additional prizes from MFJ, Hall Sound, and Gordon West Radio School. Do go there and get all the details, all the rules and qualifications. It's for U.S. and Canadian amateurs, and only register once. So thanks Icom, MFJ, Hall Sound, and Gordon West Radio Schools for making that possible. Go check it out right after the show tonight and get your registration in if you haven't already. And I think we've got our friend Dan, N9LVS, with us here tonight. Dan, what is going on up north there?
Well, we got a few things going on up here. We just finished off with Airventure, so we got a couple of videos on Airventure. But you mentioned the IC7300. I got mine sitting right here, and he's hooked up to Al, which is my linear amplifier. Cool. So we'll waste no time here. We'll get on to Jim's video, Jim N5JVG. He sent us a video, and he met up with Ray at Airventure.
Hi, this is Jim Hyken, N5JVG. I'm here at Oshkosh EAA 2018, and imagine walking around seeing thousands of planes, about 10,000, and all of a sudden running into Ray Novak from Icom and seeing a big, huge Icom truck with all the gear out in front of us, of all the famous and well-known Icom that you guys see every week on Ham Nation, and I'm just excited to see Ray here. So, Ray, what are you doing here?
I'm enjoying vacation and doing an activation for the Warbirds as Whiskey 9 Whiskey and enjoying the air show at the same time, watching the beautiful Warbirds and the aerobatic pilots perform and do their thing.
They've been doing some wonderful. Yesterday we had a marvelous air show with just skydivers, hundreds of them coming down. We had some jets. Even the Blue Angels did a quick flyby early afternoon yesterday. So there's about 10,000 planes here, and every single imaginable plane that you can think of, right, Ray?
Oh, most definitely.
And you obviously love aviation.
I do love aviation, especially the Warbirds, and the location I have is incredible. I'm just to the left of where we're standing right now, about 200 feet is Warbird Tower. Right in front of us, we're looking at P-51 Mustangs. Behind us, we're at the end of the T-34 alley, T-28s, V-25s. It's just a gorgeous, wonderful experience.
Every plane you can think of is here. And along with that, wonderful Icom equipment.
We're trying to activate multiple bands. Unfortunately, 10 and 15 is not cooperating with us. But we have the 7851 on 20.
Yep.
The 7610 on 15, the 7300 on 10 meters, then the 9100 on VHF, UHF. I'm using bandpass filters and a triplexer to go into the hex beam. Okay. So we're using a Radio Waves Sentinel, which when you take a look at it, that thing you can see halfway across the airport.
Yeah, that's when I was walking by and I noticed the antenna, which if you want to pan up there and get. Usually I'm here videotaping and talking to pilots and to the mechanics that build the planes and help restore them and keep them going. Ray, great to see you in person and meet you. It was really fun. And have a great time here while you're at Oshkosh.
Oh, you too, and thank you for stopping by.
Well, thanks, Jim, for giving us that report. And I did a little video. The Airventure is so large that they have 2 special event stations. And here's that video from Airventure 2018. This is Airventure 2018, held in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, from July 23rd to July 29th. an event that's so large it has 2 special event stations. So to get a perspective at how large Airventure actually is, here's an aerial view. It's 3.5 miles long by 2.5 miles wide. To get a little bit more perspective on the event, Airventure's attendance this year was 601,000, with more than 10,000 aircraft arriving at Whitman Field in Oshkosh. The Fox Cities Amateur Radio Club runs the EAA Special Event Station from Kidventure, right behind the Airventure Museum, in a part of Pioneer Airport known as the Lone Rock Service Station, which has quite a bit of history onto itself. The Fox Cities Amateur Radio Club has 2 stations set up, one inside and one outside of the Lone Rock Station. The inside station consists primarily of an Icom 746 Pro, as well as an Icom 7200, while the outside station consists of a Yaesu FT1000 Mark V. Young and old alike come by the service station to see what amateur radio is all about, and the Fox Cities Amateur Radio Club gives very good demonstrations.
Some others in there maybe. You have a good day up there and enjoy the flying there. We'll say 73s for now, and I'll put you in my logbook over here. W9ZL, this is November 5, Alpha Foxtrot Yankee 73.
The other special event station was Whiskey 9 Whiskey, sponsored by the Warbirds of America, and in the Warbirds section of Airventure. The station itself was operated by Ray Novak and 9JA. The Warbird Special Event Station used a wide variety of Icom equipment, everything from a 7300 all the way up to a 7851. And if you contacted the station and were wondering what all that noise was in the background, they were literally a couple hundred feet away from the runway. Ray even had a triplexer involved so they could use the radio waves hex beam on multiple frequencies at the same time. Also, for the first time, ARL was present at Airventure. Bob Interbitson, NQ1R, was there to greet people and tell people about ARL. Central Division Director, Kermit Carlson, W9XA, and Carl, K9LA, Vice Director of the Central Division, as well as Wisconsin Section Manager Patrick Moretti, KA1RB, was also at the booth. They all seem to be quite surprised at the crossover between pilots and amateur radio. Amateur radio operators and pilots have one thing in common: hobbies that require a federal license. And that does it for the special event stations from EAA Air Venture 2018. 73. Now, those are some pretty good videos that we have. We've also got a couple of videos waiting in the wings. That'll be for a couple of weeks from now. One thing that I'm looking for is I'm looking for some camping or RV videos. I've been getting a few videos from people that set up ham radio in their RVs, which is really kind of cool and really kind of interesting at how it has to be done. So if you want to send me your video, I'd really appreciate it. Ham Nation Videos at twit.tv, and we'll get those on for you as soon as we can. And with that, we're going to send it on to Don. Don, I understand that you want to get into aviation a little bit. Maybe we'll see you up at Airventure sometime.
Oh, that has been on my bucket list forever, Dan. In fact, I particularly enjoyed seeing that B-1 takeoff at the end of your last video. I was just within a couple of hours of my solo. When I was studying for my private pilot, I had passed the FAA written when I was doing a morning show back in the 90s. And I had lost my morning show gig, and unfortunately, airplanes fly on money. And so I lost a little bit of money and couldn't do the flying anymore. But my instructor, who was teaching me to fly a Piper Cherokee 180 in his other job, was a B-1 pilot for the Air Force Reserve. So very, very cool having a bone jockey as your private pilot instructor. Very cool. Thanks, Dan. Good stuff. Yeah, I'll make it up to Oshkosh one of these days. Oshkosh and Reno. The air races are on my bucket list for aviation for sure. Getting into the news of the week from Amateur Radio Newsline, where we are celebrating a birthday in the Newsline family. Skeeter Nash, N5ASH, he is having a birthday today. So let's go ahead and get into the news of the week from Amateur Radio Newsline. From Amateur Radio Newsline Report, number 2128, these are the Ham Nation headlines for Wednesday, August 15th, 2018. As an Indonesian earthquake's death toll climbs, hams deploy to assist communications.
Members of the Indonesian amateur radio organization known as Orari were deployed not long after a deadly 6.9 magnitude quake rocked Indonesia on Sunday, August the 5th, leaving a death toll that was fast approaching 100. Hardest hit were the resort areas on Lombok, where tourists emerged from a landscape of massive debris and swarmed the beaches. The quake could be felt as far away as the island of Bali. More than 300 were reported injured. The hams established disaster communications on 7110 kilohertz, and a call was issued to amateurs worldwide to keep the frequency clear. Stations within the immediate region were being asked to monitor emergency traffic and assist where they could. Orari also established radio operations on VHF at 145.5 and 147 megahertz. The quake came on the heels of an earlier one on July 29th, which hit the same area with a magnitude of 6.4, killing 16 and injuring several hundreds, many of them hikers who were at the summit of a mountain in Lombok that collapsed into the mouth of a volcano. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm John Williams, VK4JJW.
In the U.S., hopes for a new building in time for next year's Dayton Hamvention have been dashed for now.
Hamvention General Chairman Jack Gerbs, WB8 SCT, announced on August 5th that negotiations have failed to reach an agreement on a contract between Hamvention organizers and the Greene County Fairgrounds and Expo Center. He said the county and the Fairs Board still have a good relationship with Hamvention at this point, but there will not be a building in time for the next gathering. Jack made the announcement jointly with Hamvention Assistant Chair Rick Allnut, WS8G, noting that the improvements attendees saw at the 2018 Hamvention site will continue into next year. Tent shelters will be improved, there will be another forum room, and the flea market area will feature permanent paths. Both Rick and Jack expressed hope that the amateur radio community will continue to give Hamvention their full support. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Andy Morrison, K9AWM.
Meanwhile, a successful gathering of YLs wrapped up recently in Oklahoma City.
For attendees at this year's Young Ladies Radio League convention in downtown Oklahoma City, it's all over now but the memories. YLRL President Marilyn Melhorn, AF7BI, welcomed the group of 43 YLs and 22 OMs who traveled from 21 states in the Canadian provinces. The local SCARS Club sent 5 OMs to work as volunteers at the event, which ran from August 2nd to 5th. There was a forum on digital modes led by Ria Jerum, N2RJ, Rovering by Andrea Slack, K2EZ, and Mission Kosovo led by Jim Fenstemaker, K9FJ. NASA research scientist Nancy Hall, KC4IYH, delivered the keynote speech at the convention banquet. According to one member of the 3-person organizing committee, Michelle Carey, W5MQC, the prize table was chock full of goodies from convention sponsors. Saturday featured Elmira roundtable sessions offering help on DMR, antennas, CW, logging, programming rigs, and just about anything else. Carol Milizano, KP4MD, treated the YLs to a talk on the right way to organize a de-expedition-style holiday. The YLRL convention only happens once every 3 or 4 years, so these are memories and moments that are sure to last. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Heather Emby, KB3TZD.
Another reminder, we will honor youth in amateur radio this Saturday, August 18th at the Huntsville, Alabama Hamfest with our Young Ham of the Year Award. If you can't be there in person, you can watch the live stream at W5KUB.com. And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news for 4 decades and counting at arnewsline.org. With John Williams, VK4JJW, Andy Morrison, K9AWM, Heather Emby, KB3TZD, Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT at the news desk in New York, and our news team across the globe. I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW. 7-3. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation. Thank you so much to the Ham Nation folks, the Newsline folks. We have a great team, and we added one to the team today, as a matter of fact. Dr. Tamitha Skov, WX6SWW, will be filing stories for us from time to time. We've named her our science editor, and in fact, you can hear her first story coming up on this Friday's Amateur Radio Newsline, so be sure to tune into that. We don't have her on video tonight, but she did send some information for me to pass along to you, so let's go ahead and get into the 5-day solar storm and aurora outlook. She says we have some fast wind from a coronal hole hitting the Earth right now. Over the last 24 hours, aurora has been seen from New Zealand in the south to Manitoba, Canada, and Shetland, UK in the north. This means auroral propagation is active, especially on the Earth's night side. Expect active conditions down to mid-latitudes to continue over the next day or two before things begin to quiet down. The solar flare and particle radiation storm outlook says a new active region is slowly emerging onto the Earth-facing sun this week, which has given the struggling solar flux a tiny boost. NOAA has numbered the sunspot region 2718, and she says we're hovering at the high end of poor propagation for amateur radio, but likely will stay there through the next week. And if you'd like to follow her on Twitter and Periscope, you can do so at Tamitha Scove. And, of course, her website is spaceweatherwoman.com, and we are thrilled to have her as the new science editor for Amateur Radio Newsline. She's just amazing, and we're so happy to have her on the team. Time now to go check out and see what's going on in the chat room. Amanda, you've actually got a little bit of time tonight to tell us what's going on in the chat room.
I do, just a little bit. That's really nice. It's fun. And hello, everyone on the show. I have a few interesting questions. The first one is for Gordo. I'm trying to get my screen up here. Stand by. All right, Gordo, this one is from KN4CVG. And he asks, will mounting an AeroSat antenna on a metal tripod affect the antenna's performance?
Generally, on a metal tripod, the Aero antenna is going to do just fine. The antenna, the dual band Aero, 2 meters and 440, will hardly see the metal tripod at all unless the tripod is somehow in the middle of the antenna, which it really wouldn't be. So I think you'll have no problem and nothing but great success with either the Elk or the Aero antennas on a metal tripod. Amanda?
Very good. Thank you. And while I've got you, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your microwave contest that you're going to be participating in?
This is the ARRL Part 1, 10,000 megahertz and higher. We use microwave equipment. We'll be using the Icom 9100 as our main rig tied into a transverter. We go to hilltops with dish antennas that you'll see next week, and we hope anywhere from 400 to 600 miles running 2 or 3 watts at 10,368.3 megahertz. It'll be fun.
Oh, yeah. Well, I hope you have a great time doing that. And George, I'm going to skip over to you. And I think that you, actually, probably all three of you are very passionate about this topic. What do you feel about WWV possibly getting taken off the air?
I find it hard to believe. I've read the story on the internet, and it's the NIST themselves who are proposing that. I still find it hard to believe. I don't see them doing that, but we'll just have to wait and see how it goes. I don't want it to go away.
I don't either. What about you, Don?
Yeah, it serves a valid purpose. I mean, besides just the timekeeping, also those calibrated signals on those exact frequencies are used to calibrate a whole bunch of electronic equipment. So if it's all about money, I'm sure, and I'm sure that they'll find the money somehow. I mean, they may cut back hours perhaps on the broadcast, but I don't see it happening. I'm with George. I don't see. I see them finding a way to make it work.
I really hope so as well. Obviously, my alarm clocks depend on it, as well as everything else in the world. So I need that, by the way. Actually, if they could set it ahead about 10, 15 minutes, that'd be great. Maybe you could work on that, WWV. My other question was kind of for the group. Are any of you going to Boxborough? And I think that's Massachusetts. Gordo, are you going to make the trip out there this year?
Not this year, maybe next year. I love Boxborough. When you land in Boston, it's about an hour and a half drive, and you think, Holy smoly, where are we? Because there's nothing but just wonderful trees and a tiny little road. And when you end up at the Boxborough Hamfest site, it's a luxury hotel, and it's just amazing in the middle of nowhere. That is everywhere with ham radio.
Okay, and this was kind of a fun question that I got via private message, but I'm guilty of doing this. Leroy wants to know, has anybody accidentally ended their telephone conversation by saying 73 to a non-ham? And I can honestly say that I have left somebody a voicemail and said 73. And I also one time used my call sign saying, "Hi, this is K1DDN. So let's go around the table. Don, have you ever done that?"
I have not done anything like that ham radio related. However, when I first started my broadcast career in 1979, 78, I guess it was actually 79. I graduated high school in 78 and actually got my first paying gig like in January of 79. So close enough. It was the days of rotary telephones. And I can remember I was still living at home with my parents because I had just graduated high school and was working at the radio station, KGFF in Shawnee, Oklahoma, where I was just brand new baby disc jockey. And I remember one time, because the phones in the studios did not ring with a sound, it flashed a light so that, if the phone rang while you were on the air, it wouldn't ring on the microphone. And I can remember one afternoon watching TV, and a commercial came on the television at the program I was watching, and I got up, walked into the kitchen of my mother's room, of my mother's house, and looked at the phone to see if it was flashing. So I've done that, and I also I've picked up my home phone and answered with the radio station call letters before. So,
that's interesting.
Yeah.
You know what? I need the on the air thing. Jeff and I talk on our local repeater so much here from the house, and we talk to so many people every day, day in and day out. And one of the biggest things is Jeff might be talking, and I'm walking out, and I just have this potty mouth like you wouldn't believe. And it sometimes is transmitted because it picks up in the background. Darn you, radios. Anyhow, okay, let's, George, what about you? You ever accidentally use your call sign to call someone on the phone or something?
I don't have any specific recollection, but I would say, yeah, I probably have, and I've probably said 7-3 to people who didn't know what I was talking about. But let's remember there was a CB craze at one time, and they did say 7-3 and 88s and all that. I can say I've never told anybody 88 on ham radio.
He's texted it to me a couple of times, though, but I don't know.
Yeah. Sent you a card. Gordo, nice. What about you?
I use not 73, but an alternate at the beginning of a conversation. We get so many robocalls here at the West Coast. We don't say go ahead or yes on the phone because they'll use that in a recording and you end up with a new car or a new plumbing system. But I answer the phone anticipating it's a robocall with QRZ. And if I hear someone stammer, then I know, and I go QRT, and I hang up the phone.
Now, that is an interesting way to handle your telemarketers. I really like that. That's pretty good. Definitely.
I have a slightly different tack on those, but yeah.
Probably not one we can talk about here.
Well, no, I've been getting a bunch of them lately trying to sell me insurance. And so it'll say, press 1 to speak with an operator, press 2 to be taken off of our call list, which of course they never do. So I hit 1 and I talk to them. And I'll go, 5-10 minutes giving them all kinds of bogus information. And finally I'll say, I got a question for you since we're talking about insurance here. Do you have any insurance against Middle Eastern spam calls, against Indian spammers? And at that point, I either hear a stream of accented obscenities or they hang up on me. And either way, I get a giggle out of it. So, and I've wasted 10 minutes of their time.
I actually was talking to a customer the other day, and I said hi to them when I was making a joke. I did, and they had no idea what I was talking about. They were like, Didn't you mean ha? Yes, I meant ha ha. I've almost typed it in emails before anyhow, that's what I've got. All right, you guys, let's go over some nets tonight. We have the 40-meter net on 7192. We have the 20-meter net on 14270, I believe I saw in the chat. If that's wrong, you guys correct me. D-Star on 14 Charlie. We have DMR on TAC 311. And let's not forget the longest net I think we've ever had was the Echo Link, the Dewdrop In frequency there. And I wanted to say thank you. And if I got your call sign wrong, Mark, I really apologize. But N4BCD, that was awesome that you were in chat tonight answering questions about Huntsville. So great public appearance for Huntsville. I think it's going to be a wonderful time. So I don't know who's wrapping up the show, but I'll send it out there to somebody.
You know, I think that was Mark's second appearance in 2 weeks. He was on with us last week as well, and he was on with us last night with me and Ted on me and Ted. Is that proper usage? Probably not. He was on WTWW with Ted, Randall, and myself. Is that whatever? We were all three on WTWW last night for a couple of hours talking about the Huntsville Hamfest. So I think that may be the first back-to-back guest that we've had in Ham Nation. I'm not sure. It could very well be. But it was a good one. It was a great cause, too, because the Huntsville Hamfest is just absolutely amazing. And Bob is on his way there now. So we'll go ahead and I guess we'll yank the plug and then we'll turn everything off later on. But first off, we'll go ahead and say goodnight to you, and hopefully we'll see a lot of you at Huntsville. Look forward to that. George is going to be there. I'll be there. Bob Heil will be there. Joe Eisenberg, K0NEB, will be there. Of course, Bryant Rascal, KG5HVO with the Young Ham of the Year Award, will be there. Neil Rapp, who was at one point at age 5, I believe, the youngest ham in the world. He'll be there as well. It's going to be a great time. So 12 to 13,000 of your friends and us too will be there at the Huntsville Hamfest, and we hope you'll join us there as well. So for the assembled crowd tonight, George and Gordon and Mark and Amanda and everybody else, Dan, will say goodnight, and hopefully we'll see you in Huntsville, and if not, we will definitely see you here on TWIT next week. So good night all. See you later.